hold on a minute. Somebody needs to say, this episode of Archispeak is brought to you by Arcat. Wait, I just said it. I'll say it again. This episode of Archispeak is brought to you by Arcat.
If you work with specifications in your firm, you probably have come across outdated manufacturer specs with confusing notes, products that no longer exist, or even companies that no longer exist. Maybe you even pay for specs.
Stop. There's a better way to find manufacturer specifications for your project documentation. Arcat.com. Arcat is a free library of over 1,400 up-to-date accurate specifications. Arcat specs are written by FCSI, CCS, and AIA professionals based on manufacturer data.
Use Arcat's powerful search engine to find the right specifications for your project and download them in multiple formats for free. You don't even have to register. Just go over to arcat.com. That's ARCAT.com and get the information you need. And thanks to Arcat for sponsoring this episode of Archispeak.
Welcome to Archispeak, the podcast that talks about what it's like to work in the profession of architecture.
Welcome to episode 158 of the Archispeak podcast. I'm Neil Pan.
I'm Evan Troxel.
And I'm Cormac Phelan.
All right, so end of the year, guys. 2018 is over. I can't believe
Made it through another one.
You sound so excited.
I loved it. It's a good year.
It's very early.
Yes, it is.
As we record.
All right, so...
Late for the year, early for you.
Yeah. West Coasters.
Wait, why are we doing this? Aren't we shut down?
We're shut down. Everything. Shut it all down.
A little current events here.
Current events, yeah. So at the end of the year, we've done this a couple times, right? Where we've kind of gone back through the year and talked about what the shows, what's happened on the show, and maybe some, I think more this time, maybe looking forward. So as far as the show goes, we had identified a few things that were kind of cool. Cormac, what's one of them that really stands out to you that happened in 2018?
One of the things that I thought was pretty amazing is that the show went live.
That's right.
I know that it was a little bit later in the year.
That was October.
Yeah, in October we took to the stage. And actually I had a friend just the other day, a friend that was in the audience that was working on one of the projects that I'm working on in St. Louis. And I was just like, so did I sound like an idiot?
It's good to ask for that critical feedback.
Yeah, he was like, no, it was great.
And the answer?
He said no. He goes,
oh, okay.
He goes, actually, he said that overall, from his point of view, and I mean, he's listened to the podcast, and he goes, you can tell this was probably one of your first times, kind of all being on the same stage and all of that other stuff. He goes, he thought we did a great job. He said that just from his perspective, I know that I'm about to say something that is going to prompt a tweet from a specific someone, but he says that he wished that the moderator would have let us talk more and them less.
Them being the audience?
No, them being the moderator.
Oh. I don't remember that. I don't
remember that.
Actually, to be quite honest with you, I thought to me the flow went great because I think with us it really kind of being our first time, and we didn't practice. We never practice. We don't even talk about what we're going to talk about until we do it.
Shh! Don't tell people.
Oh, did I?
Secret sauce right there. Yeah.
Oops!
No.
Kidding. JK.
JK.
But
how old are you?
Younger than you. Sans younger than you. Sorry, Neil. You're not even awake. Don't want to take shots at you. You're not even awake. Anyway,
that's okay.
I thought it was I thought that the Construct Show and us being able to get out on stage together, it was a completely different experience than we are used to doing, and I kind of want to do more.
It was a great opportunity.
Yeah.
I think looking back on it, I wish that we had the foresight to actually film it so that we could watch it or maybe
critique it a little,
release that as part of our show.
Yeah, that would be good too.
Why not, right? But that didn't happen, obviously. So I think, yeah, especially from the self-critique kind of standpoint, it would have been valuable for sure.
Yeah.
And I felt like the flow was good too. And so again, maybe we don't know what we don't know here because we weren't the audience, but it was to me very welcome. And I said this, I think, in my summary video that I made that I put on YouTube, but it was like, I liked how the audience got involved and it was a conversation and it wasn't just us. Like we talked about how we removed the table and put the couches up there and made it much more something fitting. We felt more fitting. We designed the stage, right? It was set up for us in a very terrible way.
Yeah, it was more to our style, which is just relaxed and conversational.
Conversational, yeah. And I think that helped. And then so when it actually became conversational, I think that was something that I thought was unique to that setting. That was the Emerging Professionals Luncheon, and it could be that, right? Where a lot of times when you're speaking, it can't be that. So until you wait till the end for like some Q&A section. But I felt like the interactivity with the audience throughout the entire thing was pretty cool, even though some of it was like when I stated some data and the other guy pushed back and where'd you get that data? And I said, I felt like that was fine. That was totally fine. So
it was fine, and it was fun because you got it was kind of like a little heated, but it was also fun because it was that's what we do. That's what we are. Is we question each other just to make sure we're right.
Well, yeah, and there was. I mean, what is good about that is I'm not going to just accept that thing that you said, but
exactly.
Cite your sources, right? And that's good accountability. So yeah, nothing wrong.
And the
with
good
that.
thing is that you had the sources.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't just make that up.
Yeah. So that was what one of my favorite things of the year was that all three of us did together because we did a few things that unfortunately Neil wasn't able to do, which was the AIA show, the AIA conference on architecture, which was in New York, and would have been great to have all three of us there because I think we always have fun when we get together, and I think we had a blast, and we had our fill-in Neil. Brad, which was awesome, but he, but it was.
I thought you were going to say Joan.
Yeah, well, duh. Actually,
she was our fill-in Pan.
Can you? Yeah, can you edit that out, Neil? Because I should have most certainly said Joan. Because
I think Brett would like that.
Okay, she won't listen. So
she won't listen. Brett won't listen. But
oh, Brett most certainly will.
Yeah. Well.
Hi, Brett.
Hi, Brett. But yeah, I mean, in fact, actually, she was on the show.
Yep.
So we did have a pan, and it was.
Awesome.
I will say that was kind of cool because to have a pan on the show, but to have a completely different perspective was really kind of cool. And that conversation where we were having the conversation with both, our longtime sponsor, Arcat, and having, Bill on the show and then having Joan on the show and then just having us, and the flow was still the same though. That's the one thing that carries through all of these is the flow of just being relaxed and conversational. And it, not this whole weird Q&A kind of, sterility
Scripted
to the thing. Yeah, exactly. I just, everybody just kind of everybody likes to talk about the thing that is passionate to them. And that was what was great about that one.
All right. Well, you stole mine. So Neil, do you got anything
Sorry.
that you?
Well, what was good? What was good for you
year?
about?
Oh no, I think just that everything that you said is something I definitely agree, and it was in a great setting. New York City doesn't disappoint. I mean, even though it was like little spread out throughout the city, I didn't mind that, and we walked our 30,000 steps a day, so it wasn't lost on us that the city was our oyster at that. It was awesome. It was great. I'm looking forward to the next one in Vegas for sure. I mean, we talked a little bit about it before the show, but it's one of those things where, for me, the best thing about AIA is that it is an opportunity for us to really connect with listeners of the show, with friends in the architect community, and that we don't get to see except for this one time a year. So I think to me, it's worth going just for those reasons.
Something that we talked about earlier pre-show is how my skepticism of it being in Vegas, and I think after listening to your rundown of AU, I thought that now I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm actually looking forward to both seeing what the AIA can put together for, in Vegas, but what Vegas, can kind of offer up, because not everybody gives, Vegas, and I will admit that I was probably one of them, a fair shake. And you were right when you were talking about Vegas is built for conferences. I mean, that's what Vegas does, and that's what Vegas does well. And we were kind of skeptical and kind of bowed out of going to Orlando, probably for a very similar reason, and probably missed out on some pretty fun things. But
yep.
Yeah, I think this year, that's it. I'm now optimistically excited about it.
Yeah. All right. So Neil, you got anything that you could pull from 2018 that you thought was notable?
I would say the fact that we're still doing it. It's been a busy year for all of us, and I had a very busy fall.
I was going to say, that's an understatement for you.
Yeah, and so just the fact that we're still doing this and making it happen and talking about interesting topics, and it's still fun to do.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's a fantastic segue into the thing that I thought we could maybe talk about next, which just would be some big things that happened this year personally for each one of us. And Neil, I mean, you're talking about it right now, right? I mean, you jumped off the deep end and you tried to get elected, right? So that's a huge goal. And we all know that the outcome was that you were not, but I think that the effort and the commitment that you put into that is amazing. So, I mean, that was probably the biggest thing that happened for you this year. What's going through your mind about that?
The interesting thing about that is, especially as we sit here at the end of the year, looking forward to next year, it wasn't really on my radar, so to speak. Like if you had asked me last year, oh, am I going to do this? I kind of thought I would, but I didn't really think about the reality that I would. Mm-hmm. And I kind of didn't think it would happen this time around, because I didn't know that one of the candidates, or excuse me, not candidate, but one of the incumbents wasn't going to run. And I didn't really even know that until just days before the filing deadline. So it wasn't real until literally it happened. So as we look forward, sometimes you don't know exactly what's going to happen during your year, and you can't necessarily prepare for it. So I would say that was one of the interesting look backs on it now, is that as I sat at the end of 2017, the realities of what that would do and what it would mean, and how all encompassing it really was for months. I have I've had all new respect, so to speak, for politicians in general. It's not easy, and politics really sucks sometimes. Politics outweighs friendships and professional relationships, and that's the kind of ugliness that you tend to find out about when you're running a campaign and running for an elected office position. So that's one of the takeaways, if you will, of looking back on it. But it really is a very all-encompassing. I mean, the amount of hours, it reminded me of being back in school and that kind of constant, every single day you're doing something all day long. It doesn't matter. In fact, even the weekends are even worse, because the responsibility of, in my case, having to work full-time is now gone on Saturdays and Sundays, which means, now I actually have time to full-time campaign. And what events are there out there that I can attend and, shake hands and kiss babies, right? That's the line there. But there's a lot of truth to that. And so you end up spending a lot of your time doing that. And at the same time, just trying to, at the very beginning, okay, what do I stand for? What do I want to make a case for during this campaign? So those are the things that you kind of take away from that. But it is a pretty all-encompassing sort of thing that started in middle of July and didn't end until really Election Day in November. And it's still not over, because there's still financial things that I'm wrapping up and have to do until the end of this year, and
like reporting
into
kind
the
of stuff?
first part. Yeah, it's reporting things, and so some of that lingers for a little while as we wait to find out what the county ultimately is going to charge us for your filing fee. You may get a refund, and you get that refund, it has to go back into your campaign account because that stuff's not yours.
Right.
It's your campaign's.
Interesting.
And it's a very interesting sort of separation that you have to maintain. My campaign account was with a different bank, and you don't mix any of this stuff, or at least you're not supposed to.
I live in Washington, and I see a completely different aspect.
Well, the interesting thing is that there's a lot of rules, even as a planning commissioner, that I have to abide by that state and federal officials do not. So they change the rules for themselves, and I don't know
Go
how
figure.
a large campaign,
For our benefit,
the
I'm
rules
sure.
for that, but at least within the state of California, the rules are the same as far as campaign finance stuff, whether you're running for a state position or even a city council level. We all are ruled by the same set of rules here, at least in California, and it's very overwhelming. I mean, I had to learn all of that at the same time as running a campaign and getting out there and doing all of that. But yeah, all the reporting, I was just actually doing some more, paying off some of the last bills that I had on a separate credit card. I have to use a separate credit card. Starts with a zero balance. You can't, it's there's a lot of things that go into it. So
It's all stuff that kind of sounds obvious, but it takes work and effort to figure it all
Yes.
out and learn it. And,
yeah. So I mean, that was the big thing for me. So that's why when I say, I'm real proud of the fact that we continued doing the show, and I appreciate you guys for stepping in and doing some things that sometimes I do for the back end on the show here. So how the sausage is made. So I appreciate you guys stepping up to do that, because it really is a team effort all the way around all year this year.
Well, but okay, so you went through this, and it was huge, and I always kind of felt this weird sense of pride. I was like, look at my friend, look what he's doing. I mean, he's getting out there and he's like putting his money where his mouth is, and he's like actually stepping up and doing this stuff, and it was impressive as hell.
Thank you.
One of the things that this reminds me of, and maybe this is a little tangent we can go down for a little bit, but you've heard the saying about being fat, dumb, and happy, right? And
Yeah.
And so what are the things that you got? I think that's something that has happened this year as a commonality between all three of us, is that we've shown that we're not content being fat, dumb, and happy. And so when I look at what Neil pulled off, that is a huge thing to undertake. I mean, you talk about, and Neil, you generously, or I don't know if that's the right word, but you shared your sleep data, like you showed us, right?
Or the lack
and there
of.
was some serious sacrifice going on this year
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you put tons of effort into this. And I mean, you had a really high self expectation, I think, to really give it everything that you possibly could. And I think we all kind of have examples of that. I mean, for me this year, I was finally able to turn the corner on digital practice in our office. And that took I would say it took 1.5 to 2 years of work
Wow.
ahead of time to make that happen. And the stars did align. I'm not trying to take credit for all that, because there's a lot of pressure from outside as well for businesses to be better, right? And to come up with plans for the future and tell people how we're going to react to an ever-changing economy and practice of architecture, right? So we start to talk about those things, and it's like, well, we better figure this out, because if we don't, we're going to be obsolete or not around in the future, right? So
Right.
for me, that was probably the biggest corner that I was able to turn personally this year, was to get us in alignment with what that all meant and take that on. And it's a way bigger thing than I ever thought it was, as I've learned more and come to understand it better, especially with all of the little tentacles that run out through all the different areas in our practice. And our firm is not small, right? So it's one of those things where you have to build consensus, and you've got to show people where we're headed and get people on board with that. And so it's become a surprisingly, I mean, it's exciting. And so when I go to work every day, I'm pumped, right? I mean, I'm doing that thing that I've talked about on the show a lot. I'm designing the future. I'm designing the jobs. I'm designing where our practice is heading. And to me, like, that is the exact spot that I want to be. And so when I look back on being fat, dumb, and happy, potentially, right, as a senior designer in the firm, I thought, okay, well, what can I do to really mix things up and not just get stale in this environment? Like, I can see what I don't want to be. I can see that I don't want to be the person 20 years from now or 15 years from now who's like holding my hands up like I'm obsolete because we got all these great young people who are doing amazing things and you no longer need me, right? So how can I stay relevant, or how can I bridge the gap to get those people to just run with the scissors when they're older in our firm, right? The emerging leaders. So
you don't want to run with scissors, though.
Yeah, run as fast as you can, man. I feel like we have a unique opportunity right now. So there's things like that, I think, that kind of run through each one of us, and that kind of starts to show in the show. Yeah, that didn't make sense, but show in our show.
Reflect.
Yeah, because we're not just sitting around talking about the way things used to be, right? We're not just sitting around talking about the way that
back in my day.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's kind of worth mentioning. You know, that is, even though the show is not planned and it is conversational, it's also rooted in trying to be better.
Yeah. Now, I want to say one thing before we move past Neil's banner year. And I know that it didn't necessarily end the way that you wanted to on the election, but one of the things that I, again, take pride in sitting here saying, this is my friend and look what he did, is you got out there and you got your name noticed, right?
Yeah.
And now was it the Livermore Downtown board?
Yeah, Livermore Downtown Inc. Board of Directors, yes. I'm now on the board of directors.
Did you think at the start of the year that was going to happen for you?
Oh, gosh, no.
See? And
no,
so, I mean,
not at all.
I just like, again, this is you getting out there and getting your name out there and making things happen. And now you're a part of the forward direction of your town.
Right.
In a different way. Yep.
I do term out, as the listeners know, I've been a planning commissioner for, be 8 years come next February, just in a couple of months. And I do term out. So it's time to start looking at what else can I do. I've given 13 years with Planning Commission and the Historic Preservation Commission, and I'm termed out of that. So time to, how do I contribute to my community in other ways, right?
And that's what I think, to me, is amazingly respectable in your attitude about it, is like, okay, well, I didn't get this, but I still want to keep helping. I still want to, be a part of the future of my town. And, you don't want to just say, okay, well, I'm done. So see you guys. Bye.
Not ready to retire
No.
yet.
Yeah, you're not ready to hang up your spurs.
yet.
Exactly. So, that's got to have a lot of respect for. I mean, I have a lot of respect for you. I've got a lot of pride
Thank
for
you.
So it's just,
I appreciate it.
It's amazing how refreshing it is that people, want to be involved in, that the great thing about our network and all of the branch of our friends, and all of the different activities that everybody does, from, people getting involved with the AIA and getting involved with emerging professionals, getting involved with podcasting that helps with people passing, their AREs to other people who do podcasts that help do small business encouragement and direction and stuff like that. All of our friends that are out there doing great things for this profession. I mean, you you typify that just as much, both of you guys like typify that just as much as all of our friends. And it's kind of exciting to be part of the community that, we live in, both on the web and in general, that, sees all of these professionals that really want to make a difference in this profession, that are actually out there putting that sweat equity in, that really is just, that's what makes me excited, not just about, what has happened in the past, like say 6 years of us doing this podcast, or, the past year with 2018, but it really kind of gives me hope. And this should have been my little like thing for the end of our podcast, not in the middle of it, but it kind of gives,
well, we can end it now.
But it just kind of gives me hope that, the 2019 and beyond, just this network of amazing awesomeness that we have around us is just going to be fantastic. And I was just talking to somebody yesterday in our office, and he's been involved with NOMA and stuff like that, and emerging professionals, and he was telling me, I was just like, well, are you going to go to the coming conference? He's like, yeah, I've got to. And I was like, well, why do you have to? And, now he's getting involved with emerging professionals. And, we know tons of people like, Laura Teagarden and stuff who, have been involved with emerging professionals. And he's kind of going to be that next run of things. And thankfully, he's actually going to be connected with Laura so that she can pass on her knowledge. I was like, you couldn't ask for anybody better to kind of be the trumpet for, emerging professionals than her. And so now he's going to do that. And I get to like watch all these young professionals basically picking up the mantle and running with kind of stuff that you guys set the examples for, and all of our like friends set the examples for. So big encouragements for the coming year.
Yep, for sure. So Cormac, talking about sweat equity this year for you, what did you, I don't want to have to drag this out of you.
I didn't do anything. I didn't do nothing.
Okay, so you got promoted.
I did. Yeah.
Yep.
I did. I got promoted. Cheers.
Yeah. Senior associate.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And how did you do that, Cormac? You just don't want to say it, do you?
Oh, you mean that one of the criteria for senior associate is to finally get a big monkey off my back?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's worth mentioning.
Yeah. That finally,
absolutely.
Finally friggin' happened.
You're This is the thing, just so all of our listeners know why this is such an uncomfortable moment for Cormac right now, is because Cormac doesn't want anybody to shower him with any kind of accolades, or, like he said before, he likes to support the team.
All right. So
take your
bow. But you need to take your bow right now.
So here's why. And what was interesting is back when it happened.
And you still haven't even said what this is yet, by the way. So people are still just hanging on the edge of their seat.
Just say it.
All right. So when it happened, that undisclosed thing happened, my boss, Luann Green, FAIA, amazing boss, an amazing leader, and I'll tell you that I've learned a lot from her this year, being in a lot of leadership development programs within our office, that she doesn't just let it happen. She's a leader by example. I learned a lot throughout the year about just kind of like pushing through both. So she came up to me, and she's just big grin on her face, and she's just like, so I hear great things, and she's like, why haven't I heard a Square post about this? And a Square, we have our intranet, where we kind of like make announcements and all this other stuff. We call it the Square. Mina said the Square, kind of thing. So, and I was just like, well, honestly, it's always been, and here's where I kind of like admit the reality of things. It has always been a sense of embarrassment to not be a licensed architect, because I do everything that everybody else does, sometimes better. I will say that, in a bit of egotism there.
Honesty.
Sometimes better, but I can never call myself an architect because I never had the license. And a lot of it, and I had a little self-realization throughout the year of like, I've made excuses throughout the years of like, well, I've worked for a firm that didn't really require me to do it. So, there goes 8 years where I didn't really need to do it. They don't want me to sign and seal. I'm too busy doing projects for them that somebody else will sign and seal. So I'll go ahead and just keep doing that. I'll throw myself at my work and make sure that I'm the best at what I do at my work, and never really kind of considered the ramifications of not having it. So I just kept going without it. And, there was always this weird little sense of shame and embarrassment that I didn't have it, but in turn, I never really, I was just like, okay, well, to get past that, I'll just be good at what I do. Well, I've been called out numerous times. It's like, well, you never, you're not putting, your money where your mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like, it's kind of, you get to the point where, it's just like, just shut up and do it, because you talk your game, but you don't live your game. And so it's just like, all right. I will say, there is a bit of monetary
incentive,
because it's just, when you're told, hey, this is the furthest you can go, you are more than capable of going as far as you want to go, but you can't go if you don't have the credentials to go there. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have the credentials for a long time. Well, I do now. This year brought me busting my ass and finishing 6 out of the 7 tests, because I had one, silently just studying away while still working on 3 very large. It was interesting, as I got a really awesome note from. So I have this unit crest that I had given to. I brought it up in the leadership conference or leadership development courses that we were doing in our office. And it's this motto that says, Nullius pavita cursum, means he fears no encounter. It sounds good, but I think the one thing that I fear is the failure of not finishing these things up and all this other stuff. And I was like, you know what? No, you just don't fear it. Do it. Get it done. Get it over with. The For Architects, by Architects moniker on our podcast can be truthful. So, yeah, I finished it.
That's awesome.
It was great. It was over with. And the thing that, the only way that you guys knew that I had finished it is because then I decided that I was going to let the cat out the bag, that I was promoted to senior associate at our firm, and the only way to get promoted to senior associate in our firm is to have your license.
My first hint was when we all wrote our bios for Construct, and yours said architect. I'm pretty. I notice things. I'll just say that.
Do you notice things? Well, it was just, yeah. Well, I don't.
You're not the kind of person to claim that and not be it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that is actually very, very true. Is that I will say this, that I still found it hard for me not to say, architectural professional, rather
You're
than
so used to it. Or what?
Yeah. I'm so used to just saying architectural professional than architect.
Yeah.
Good feeling, right?
Officially, after an extraordinarily painfully long time.
Well, I hope you really celebrated that. Your family, at least.
Actually, what's funny is, so the day before I finished, my wife is a school teacher, and she's got her certificate in Florida, but we've been gone so long that that's expired. And then she had her one in Alabama, and we've been gone from there so long that that's expired. And so she's been teaching in private schools in Maryland, and they don't need a public school license or certification. And the day before she finally finished all of her credentialing to get her Maryland license, her teaching certificate, teacher's license, whatever it's called. And the day after I got mine, and so we kind of had this joint celebration of we're both legit for something that we've been doing forever.
Yeah. Well, life gets in the way, right? And I think that one of the cool things about this, doing it now, is that you get to share this with our audience. And I think that right there is just something that is worth aspiring to for people who listen.
I will say this. The thing that I used to hold as my, I don't really know what I used to hold it as other than bullshit is what it is.
A badge?
This badge of honor
Bullshit?
No. You've heard me say countless times that it's about the experience. It's what in the Army we were taught that you have to be experienced for the job that you want. You don't get the job you want and then become experienced. And so I used to always hold that up as this bullshit badge of you know,
didn't have enough experience yet.
I didn't have enough. And then
You'll never will.
and that was the thing that always never clicked in my head. It's you will never have enough experience. There will always be the next project that will be completely different from the project before. And you're going to have different experiences with clients that is going to be completely different from the time before. And so to continuously use this bullshit excuse of, well, you know, I'm just not, you know, experienced enough to call myself a legit architect. That's a bunch of horse shit. Mm-hmm. It really is. And I have the utmost respect for, you know, anybody who's, and I don't want to call them kids because I feel like that's a little disrespectful to them, because they're not. They're young professionals who graduate. They put in their time to earn their degree. They put in their time to earn their licensure. And yeah, they're going to learn along the way the stuff that I already knew, but that's okay. As long as they're there to learn it and they're willing to learn it and they're willing to put in the time and put in the passion that it is. You know, the horseshit excuse that I had to not get it done was just that. It was just horseshit. And it was something that now, after the fact, I wish I would have, you know, been able to have a bigger boot to put up my ass to,
well, we kept trying.
Well, you guys did, and
I wrote that book for you, damn it.
And I read it. And let me give 4 shout outs. 1, Evan, that book. Well, just put it this way. Evan and Neil, you guys continuously keep encouraging me to get this shit done. Not just, you know, not for any selfish reasons other than you knew that
it doesn't help me.
Yeah, exactly. There was no ulterior motives. It was just you guys, like, you know, were there to encourage me, you know, writing the book. I'm going to throw out a big shout out to Laura Teagarden, because those books that she wrote, now I used them when I was doing the 4.0 that then transitioned to the 5.0, and her architectural sketches that she wrote for the ARE, those things are great. I mean, for visual learner people that aren't necessarily like book learners, but, you know, you need that like visual prompt to kind of like remind you what, you know, certain key concepts and things are. But those are brilliant. I mean, I'd love for her to, and if I can help, but I mean, I would love for her to do like a 5.0 version of those things, because, I mean, those were absolute brilliant things. And so, I mean, she was a great help just by, I mean, both encouragement, but also that. And then I'm going to give a special interesting shout out to Mr. Borson, who threw a bit of like ridicule and shame and shaming of me at one point in time, and not intentional. It was not intentional. It was just, he was surprised that I wasn't licensed, in a reaction that he had that then kind of like piled on a bunch of other people to basically have this kind of like almost shock and almost dismay of like, what? You're not licensed? Was one of those things that just kind of was that fuel of burning desire, if you want to call it that, to finally get this crap done.
Nice. You just got to be shamed by the right person at the right time.
I got to be shamed by the right person by the right time. You guys did your own, you know, like, you shamed me enough as well.
Shame me?
Yeah.
That was off air.
Yeah.
Well, I think what I want to say to both of you guys is just thanks for showing leadership in the things that you've accomplished this year. And I think that to kind of not keep this conversation focused inward, but to kind of refocus it outward, is that I don't think that you can expect people to do the uncomfortable things so that you get out of fat, dumb, and happy if you don't do it yourself. And so I would just encourage everybody who's listening to this to find ways to get out of your comfort zone. And if it doesn't have to be something as big as maybe some of these accomplishments we're talking about, it can be something much smaller. But if you are constantly comfortable, you're not going to be able to expect somebody else to be uncomfortable for you or to accomplish something amazing if you don't show some leadership and do it too. It will be self-serving at some level, but it will also get the flywheel turning of things happening that, like we talked about with Neil, right? He didn't win the election, but opportunities have come out of this. We talked about it with this podcast before. Just showing up every 2 weeks has created amazing opportunities. Once you get the flywheel turning by getting out of your comfort zone and trying something that means something to somebody, it can mean something to you. It can mean something to somebody else. It could be just for the greater good. I mean, it doesn't matter. But if you can help get the flywheel turning, everybody's going to be better for that. And it's going to move beyond you. So a little bit of outward facing encouragement there for everybody, especially as we, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions, but I do believe in being better. And I think there's never a better time to start than right now. It just happens to be almost 2019. And so if you want to attribute it to that, to a fresh start, then use that excuse by all means. I mean, do it, right? But definitely don't sit around being dumb, fat, and happy, because, taking it back to Brett, there was Brett and I worked together, and he was our Neil stand-in at the AIA show. But one of the things that we did when we were talking to Neil on that Skype call, I think, Neil, you had asked, what's different? And one of the things that came up was that we're not going to wait around anymore. I'm not going to just sit around. And I looked over at Brett and I'm paraphrasing the conversation, but I looked over at Brett and said, and there's Brett right there who's going to keep me accountable to this because he sits next to me. And he smiled back like, yes, I am going to do that.
Yeah, yes, he will.
And he does, right? And it's one of those things where Brett and I have this long-standing relationship, and we do talk about these kinds of things. And one of the things I said to Brett a very long time ago when Brett was complaining about something was, well, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
And he brings that up all the time now. To me too, right? And to other people. And that right there is something that, I wish more people did. So if there's anything that comes out of the show, I mean, I hope that this is one of those big things. And you guys showed that this year for sure. And I think that that's worth talking about. So thanks for opening up there, Cormac, about the thing that you didn't want to talk about. That was great.
Thanks.
And congratulations from the entire Archispeak crew.
Thank you.
That was totally stealthy. I know I was distracted this fall, so I completely missed the whole you had architect there when we did construct. So, bravo.
Yeah, he wasn't going to bring it up, right? So
no,
we pried it out of him.
Bring nothing up.
Cool.
I wasn't going to say nothing.
Yeah.
And I have no idea why either.
Well, maybe to wrap up, you guys have anything that you're really looking forward to doing or accomplishing, or getting unfat, undumb, and this year, 2019?
Yeah, actually, I have a few things, and one of them, going back to my conversation with my boss, is when she was just like, she understands like the whole, kind of the whatever, embarrassment of not having it and all that other stuff. And it gets to a point, sometimes when you're so late in your career and you don't have something, or not late in my career, but you know what I'm saying, that, you've been doing it for so long that you're just like, I've been doing it so long, so what's the point in getting it? And I can just keep on going. And we have a few people in our office like that. And she was just like, can you use your story to like encourage other people to that it's never too late to get your license. It's never too late to get the things that you think that you want or, even deserve in the profession that you're being held back by, the lack of credentials and stuff like that, and help those people that don't have the motivation or feel like they can't do it, help them out. And so that's
your new charge.
It's my new charge is, how can I help the people who've taken so long and still don't have it, or they're, halfway through it or something? How can I encourage them to get it done, put that part behind them? So, because they still have, we architecture careers, we live a long career. Yep. I know so many people that are like in their 70s and are still charging hard and in this profession and are still doing valued work. So if like you're in your 40s and, you don't have your license, but
you're an emerging professional.
You're still emerging professional. And
Absolutely.
You know what? You can use, this is such a quick changing profession, and all of this stuff that all the experience that we do have as kind of mid-career guys that still have a lot of value to it. We still bring a lot to the table. So that's like my big charge from here on out, is to help, not only continue to help foster and develop a mentorship for, people who are newer in the profession, but, help foster a level of mentorship for the people who've been here a while.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Neil, you got anything you want to get better at 2019? You had a list of stuff.
I do. Well, I'll kind of go through a little bit of it. But one of the things I discovered, I don't know if discovered is the right thing. Social media has been with us now for a while. And that was a big part of how we even got to know each other, right? It was the reason.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's the reason this show exists. Then during the campaign, I had to change priorities, right? There's only so much time in every day, and no matter what I did, I couldn't stay awake for all 24 of those hours.
What?
Good for you, Neil.
You guys saw the chart. I at least slept 1 to 2 hours on most of those nights. But where I'm going with this is that I had to cut back a lot on social media, and just now part of my social media was obviously focused on the campaign. And so there was that part of it, but my kind of personal sort of interaction with other people through social media really dropped off. And that's okay.
You didn't miss it.
I didn't miss it.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. So I think for me moving forward is, again, it's all part of this sort of changing everything, right? I'm terming out as a planning commissioner. I'm looking at new opportunities and expanding in different areas. And so a part of it is to just kind of back away from some social media, cut back on the noise is what I called it,
right,
in my notes. And I've done a lot of that just because of the campaign, and I've kind of continued to do that since, and it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not following as many groups, and I've actually unfollowed a number of groups, and I hope some people that run those groups are not offended. It's not you, it's me. But
that's what they all say.
That's what they say. Yeah. So just kind of backing away a little bit from that and refocusing. If I learned anything during the campaign, was that you can focus on different things, and a lot of great things can happen out of that, but change, right? It's part of it is just change. I've been doing a lot of the same types of things for a number of years, and now I'm being forced to change. And the campaign, of course, was another way to try and change that, and it's opened up a lot of doors. So I'm trying to change up the routine a little bit, and social media cutting back on the noise a little bit is part of that. And then another thing, this is more from a work aspect. One of the things I've moved into doing a lot of this year, which is new for me in my career, is full service CA. and going through the construction process on very difficult jobs. And most of the stuff all of the stuff I'm doing right now is affordable housing rehab work. And the rehab portion of that is quite the challenge, because it seems like every day there's a new issue with a project, right? And it's oftentimes not even like our drawings are fine, maybe, or they're as good as can be, but there's just unforeseen conditions when you start tearing open a building that you didn't know. And so the 8 or 6 a day RFIs that we're getting are not necessarily things that we didn't fully explain in the drawings, but just here's something that has come up. And just dealing with those types of things and trying to find. So my goal for hopefully next year is how do I find ways to be more efficient when we manage and track these RFI submittals and now punch lists on some of the projects that are nearing completion, and we're doing some punching on that. And so actually, I'm going to throw this out to our listeners. If you have suggestions on more efficient ways to track and manage some of this information and all this data, if you will, please let me know. Reach out to me through social media. I will respond.
It's the new inbox.
Yeah, it's the new inbox, I guess. But our firm, traditional architectural firm, right? I mean, as you try and push your firm, Evan, in digital practice, firms don't often change quickly, and they get set in their ways and they work, and why bother changing it? And so I'm all about, how do I get more efficient? And putting things into a spreadsheet is, to me, not always the most efficient way to do things.
One thing that I could just, if I could mention this, that I hope you do, is when you learn something, like we're going to get people telling you, use this, use that.
Right.
If you find something you like, share it with your firm. Because one thing that I'm noticing moving into my role is that you cannot believe how many different ways there are to do one thing in the same firm. And nobody wins because of that. In fact, everybody gets a little more separated when that happens. And so when you find a really great thing, show the value to as many people as you can, and just get them to start trying it, because it is a long road to change, right? It's incremental, small little things until you've gotten to the point where you really feel like something like that can take hold. Because people don't want to do it a new way. They want to do it the way they've always done it, and they love their Excel spreadsheets and this and that. But if you can really show value and share that and get other people to understand why a smarter system is better for the firm and not just you, that kind of thing is really valuable and will help your firm move forward. Like, because you said, you're looking for smarter ways to do stuff, and most people are not. They're just looking for the same way to do stuff that they've always done it.
Yeah, well, the whole goal here is not just for me to be able to do it. I'm going to start because I have to, but the whole goal is to in fact, just yesterday I was showing a coworker, I'm like, hey, what do you think of this? I'm experimenting, and I was using PlanGrid actually for punch list, and I just started experimenting. I'm doing the trial period, and I entered some things, and how can I export this? Because, there's not other team members in this case. It's just me. So how do I utilize this tool in a way that I can show is going to be productive? And he was like, I like this. I like where you're headed. Let's see where it goes. And so I'm gonna keep plugging away at that.
If you get a project manager excited, man, you're halfway there.
Anything to make our lives a little bit easier.
Are full of excitement. They are all joy.
Well said.
Yeah. So those are some of the things that I want to try and do, just not only personally, but for for my work for as well, is how do we find a way that different tools can be productive and convince people to move in that direction to better everyone, right? I mean, that's the goal.
And you, Mr. Troxel?
I think that there's a couple things here that I'm thinking about that are, I guess they kind of steer me in the direction of it's not about me. So the biggest thing on my list is figuring out ways to remove other people's roadblocks so that they can do the amazing things that they want to do. And I think that again, I mean, that's one of the differences between, I learned that lesson a long time ago when I worked at Apple. One of my mentors there said, you could do anything that you want here. Like, they see this amazing potential, right? They're just, and so he said, hey, you could do whatever you want to do here. Tell me where you want to go, and I'll do everything I can to help you get there, which means remove those roadblocks, right? And I see that opportunity. We've got 350 people in our firm. A lot of them want to do amazing things, but don't feel the permission to do it, or they don't feel like they have a clear vision of what the path is to get there. So that's probably one of the bigger things. One of the things that I really want to do is raise the level of my surrounding relationships. You know, they say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you just search for that on the internet, you'll find lots of great things about that. And so, like, who is a right around you? Who are you placing around you? I mean, I have an amazing spouse. I've got some amazing friends. What can I do to reach out and get out of my comfort zone and really find a great mentor or a great coach? I don't think that anybody should be without that. I don't care how old you are. There's always somebody who knows something more than you do, and they can teach that to you.
Yep.
So that's something that's really just forefront on my radar as well. And then the last thing is, you know, we did this year. I think it was Know Thyself, the name of our episode, where we did the DISC profile. And I've had the opportunity to do some more leadership training in the office. And we once again did the DISC profile. And guess what? Mine didn't change. But this is one of those things that I think if you understand different people's behavior, their traits that are different than yours, you can actually learn how to work with them in a way that basically is speaking their language or helping them understand what your language is. And because there's 4 different quadrants on that DISC profile, right? There was D-I-S-C, and I'm an S, and Neil, you were a D. Cormac, were you an I? Do you remember?
I think so, yeah.
I think we were all in different quadrants, but what's interesting is everybody has all 4 quadrants in their personality. It's not like you are just one. And actually, what's interesting about this particular profiling tool is that the closer you are to the center of the circle of quadrants, the easier it is for you to switch between all 4. Like, you can change your position based on the scenario that you're in. So the farther out you are towards the outer edge of the circle, the harder it is for you to change your behavior in different situations. So for me, I'm actually fairly close to the center on the S. And to me, that means that I have a pretty good ability to maneuver between different leadership styles and between different behavior traits. And I think that isn't going to be an asset for me, especially starting a brand new practice in our firm where people don't necessarily understand it. It's taking a really long time for some people to wrap their heads around it and what it is. And what I've learned is I have to communicate the vision in different ways to different people so that it matters to them and their style. And so that's something I'm really looking forward into getting more into this year, is learning how to work with people in a leadership role and make us a cohesive team, because we need all these different traits to be successful. We need the ability to be nimble and have different people step up when the different needs arise. And, you know, everyone's got the kind of their way of doing things, and we all have to figure out how to work together. So it's not like you're not trying to say one is better than the other. You're trying to say, how do we work together? You actually need all of these different assets. And I want to learn how to communicate the most effective way that I can with all these different types. So that's something that I'm really going to be focusing on, I think, in the beginning of the year, because if I just continue to explain things the Evan way, a lot of people aren't going to get that. And I'm not going to be as successful if I can't learn to speak other people's languages and values so that they understand and are on the same path as I am. Because like I was just telling you, Neil, with that, if you don't share it, like, it's never going to become a thing. It's just going to be your thing. And that can't happen with what I'm trying to do in my office. It has to become standards, and it has to become basically culture throughout our entire firm. And there's no way for that to happen if I can't get the message across to all these different ways that people think. So those are kind of the big picture stuff that I'm really focused on this coming year, I should say.
As the Care Bears say, if you don't share it, you don't care it.
That's the exact quote. Sharing is caring.
Exactly. I will say one thing, Neil, and I'll be reaching out to you on a personal goal. I've actually already started training for the Army 10-miler that I will be running this year.
Nice.
Awesome. Yes, I didn't mention it before, but I will. I did get into the Big Sur International Marathon. It's a lottery system, and I ran it this year, 2018, and I got in for 2019. So
cool.
I will be
cool beans, yo.
Training for that as well this winter and into spring.
Awesome. I never thought that this would be a podcast with 3 runners, but I think that's kind of turning in. I mean, Neil, I don't think I'll ever catch up to you, but
no,
that's okay. You won't catch me on the rock climbing wall.
Hell no. Oh no, I'll stay away from that. Just the photos you send make me dizzy.
Yeah. No climbing.
No climbing.
What were you going to say about 9,000?
9,000 miles since I started tracking my runs.
Jeez.
I should be able to get there by next year.
So that is at least 2 trips back and forth across the country, or at least 1 there and back and halfway. What's the...
what is it, about 3,000 miles across the country?
Yeah, so you're...
Give or take, across this country.
So you've run from your house to my house to back to your house, and now you're at my house.
I'm coming back to you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about 800 miles away.
I thought you were going to say something about, it was about 10 miles a year that he was running.
No, that's my running.
Well, it would just make him really old.
Yes.
Which, as we all know,
oh, shut up. Oh, Jesus.
Come on, we got to finish the year off right.
All right. I think we should take this one out.
We got
you guys ready?
Yep.
Time to go. All right. So, hey, everyone, happy holidays to everybody. We'll,
happy
definitely
holidays.
First couple of days from Christmas.
Happy
right
Festivus.
Now, so.
Festivus for the rest of us.
Merry, merry, cheer, cheer, joy to all.
All right. Anyway, hey, let's remind everyone that this episode is brought to you by our good friends at Arcat, and the music is by a special band called System Kid. Subscribe to Archispeak on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can also listen directly from the site, as many people do, at archispeakpodcast.com. You can follow us on social media, mainly Twitter and Facebook. I don't know what else, probably some other things too. Links to all of those can be found over at our website. And it's been a good year, guys. Thanks to everyone for listening. And please remember to stay subscribed and tell a friend. You know, we'd like to get some more listeners.
Happy New Year.
And remember, this community isn't anything without the support. So support each other.
There you go. It's a good message.
Dismantles me part by part. You're riding red. cuddle up, but he won't be enough. Your greed, I'm caught in a fumble on the beach. You reach for your gun. Do I watch or run, or will someone call 911? You were everything they needed and more. Oh, and everything was magic, but more went overboard. I hate the way that you lied to me. Still, I love you anyway. Because you tell me every little thing's gonna be